Makeda Valletta. Welcome to my IG Live. So I'm recording this in two different places. I'm first primarily doing this for IG Live, but I'm also recording on another camera so that I can post it on my YouTube page. So if you see me looking at two different places, that's why. So anyhow, welcome. Today, a lot of you who follow my work, you know that I speak a lot about sexuality. And today, I want to speak a little bit about the challenges of being a bisexual woman. Of course, there are a lot of challenges that come with being a bisexual man, and I may discuss that a little bit, but because I'm a woman, that's what I'm going to speak on. So I just want to say that I feel like a lot of bisexual women feel like, and probably men too, feel like we have to choose a side. When it comes to women, a lot of people look at it as if like, oh, you know, you're just doing that to try to get attention, or, you know, you're confused or you're greedy. And I feel like the straight world doesn't understand bisexual people, and the gay world doesn't understand bisexual people. And so a lot of times you have bisexual women who will try to act straight because they want a man, and so they may just try to act like they're straight to make their lives easier, because people say that that's every man's fantasy, but it's actually not true. There are a lot of men who don't like being with a bisexual woman. They may feel like it's cheating. They may feel like, you know, you really like her more than me, or they're like, so there are men who are not into that and feel threatened by it. Plenty of men. So a lot of people will say, oh, that's every man's fantasy. It's not every man's fantasy, right? And even the men who that may be their fantasy, there could be a problem with that too. Because some men feel as if they're with a bisexual woman, that they deserve to be or want to be in the mix all the time. So in their mind, they think, okay, she likes girls, and in their mind, they have a visual of always being in between them and being in the mix. And when that doesn't happen, when these two girls connect and maybe on each other for hours, exploring each other for hours, and this man is excited and he wants to be in the middle, there's men that throw temper tantrums because it's not about them right now. And ow, shit. My nail, sorry. Yeah, there's men, I need to cut my nail off, who throw tantrums because it's not about them. And I've had that happen in my life a good number of times. Then also, there's the issue with couples. Like, if you're a single bisexual woman, a lot of times, you know, if you're dealing with the other bisexual woman, which for me, I prefer that over lesbians, because lesbians don't really accept us either. There are a lot of lesbians, not all lesbians, but a lot of lesbians are male haters, you know, and they feel like men are their enemy. You have lesbians that don't want to be penetrated, or they don't understand if their girl wants to be penetrated, even if it's a finger or a toy. There's like anti-penetration lesbians, which to me, I feel like they have some issues, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I've been in a lot of lesbian environments where they're acting as if a man stepping into the room has tainted the room, it has poisoned the room, and oh my God, like men are the enemy. Even some lesbians who want babies, where you need a man to have a baby. Like, so lesbians can be that way. So a lot of times there are lesbian women who will come on to bisexual women, but they really don't like us because they think that we're confused. They want to try to force us to be on the lesbian side, but we like men too. And then the flip side, no matter what man I'm with, I like women too. So no man is going to, I don't care how amazing he is, he's not going to give me what I get from a woman. And no woman, no matter how amazing she is not going to give me what I get from a man. Like, it's not. I like both, I need both, right? But there's a lot of bisexual people who, if they're with they'll go like, if they're with a man, they're with a man, right? And they'll just turn off they'll turn it off or try to turn off their love for women. And then they'll be in a relationship with a woman. They'll be in a lesbian relationship, and they'll turn off their love and need for men. So they because it's so hard to navigate both, a lot of bisexual people choose one. So I've known men that have told me, oh, I've had sex with lesbians. So many men have told me they've had sex with a lesbian. And I'm like, if you've had sex with a lesbian, then she's not a lesbian, okay? Because she wouldn't be having sex with you. You know, like a straight man would not have sex with another man. because then he wouldn't be straight. Like, you're not going to hear a straight dude say, it just doesn't make sense, okay? So any woman who's having sex with men, even if it's once a year, is not fully a lesbian, okay? And there are women I've known who identify as being lesbians, but they are attracted to men. And so that means you're not a lesbian, you're bisexual. Then I've had sex with women who were the aggressors, who I've had great connections with, who will never ever say out loud that they're into women. They would never ever say out loud that they're bisexual. You would never know that. And then when they're with a man, they get with a man that is act straight, right? So, and then whenever I hear a woman say, I don't like labels, that automatically tells me, yeah, you're bi. Because straight people and gay people don't say that. They don't. Gay people will wave the gay flag all day. I'm gay, honey. I'm queer. I'm lesbian. No problem. Straight people, if I ask a straight man, is he straight? He's going to say in a second, hell yeah. Like, he's not going to hesitate. No straight man, if I ask him, are you straight? No straight man is going to say, well, I don't like labels. No, he's not going to say that. The people who say they don't like labels are the bisexual people who just don't feel comfortable saying that because nobody accepts us. Because people always think, oh, you're just a freak, or you're just confused, or, you know what I'm saying? So to make their lives, an attempt to make their lives easier, they try to choose a side. And I feel like nobody talks about this. I remember when I was in my early 20s and I would go to bookstores, like I still do, and you go to the gay and lesbian section, all the books are for gays and lesbians. It's like, where do bisexual people fit in this? When I was in my early 20s, I would go to lesbian clubs because I wanted to meet women. I never felt comfortable in the lesbian world. Never, because I always felt like I had to prove something to them, you know. And then I remember and this is not always the case with lesbians, but sometimes in lesbian relationships, or a lot of times, you have the so-called masculine dykey one. And sorry if I offend anybody, because I'm a part of the LGBT thing as well, but I don't understand all these terms and what offends people, but I use dyke when I'm talking about a chick that is boyish, very mannish, okay? So you have like the masculine dyke one with a feminine girl, and what I would see all the time is that the girly lesbian, she would be walking with her head down, like she can't even look up, like she just is looking down, and the dykey one is walking around with all this aggression and anger. And I remember going to lesbian clubs and just seeing them fight all the time, and I'm thinking, like, if we all like girls, shouldn't we all be happy right now? Like, what is the fighting about? But you go to a gay men's club and everybody's happy. You know, I don't even like gay men's clubs because I don't like the music they play. It's really corny. Like, one of the reasons why I don't like house music, it reminds me of gay men. And I'm not homophobic. I just am not into the gay man vibe. It's not my idea of fun. When I've gone to lesbian clubs, the DJs actually play really good music. But the girls are so freaking mad and fighting. And you go to the gay men's club and they're just so happy. Yay, yay, YMCA, all this shit. And I really think that has a lot to do with the fact that gay men are still men. And men are not as complicated as women when it comes to sex. Men are a lot more realistic. I mean, straight up. They say what they want. They go after what they want. They don't front like that. The only reason, you know, when it comes to sex, I say gay men are on top, having the most sex, more sex than anybody, because it's two men. So you have easy and easy, yes and yes, you know. Gay men probably having the most sex, then straight men, then woman, like bisexual straight woman, and then lesbians on the bottom. I feel like lesbians have the least amount of sex out of everybody. And I feel like a lot of lesbian couples, and again, to the lesbians out there who might get mad at me, this is not all of you, but I feel like a lot of lesbian couples don't have enough sex, and they are angry. You know, they spend so much time arguing and fighting. There's so much domestic abuse. One of my good friends, he's a security guard in Atlanta, and he tells me, like, he does security at different clubs, and he says on lesbian night is the most fights, the most stuff going on. And so I feel like, you know, gay men are so happy because they fuck all the time, and then lesbians don't do that enough, and a lot of times they look older than they should. They age. Not always the case, but something I've noticed a lot, right? And so for me, it's like I like girls that also like men, because then I can be myself. I don't have to hide my love and my need for men. But it becomes complicated because sometimes men can be helpful and sometimes they can be in the way, right? Now, I always said, when I was 18, I promised myself I would never be with a man who could not handle my sexuality. Because I knew men, like when I was in college and like my early 20s, I knew men who would say to me, yeah, I'm okay with you liking girls, but as long as I'm there. Like they felt like they're fine with it as long as they're always there. And I'm like, I'm not going to promise you that, because I don't mind you being there if she doesn't mind you being there. But if she doesn't feel comfortable with you there, and I have a connection with a woman, and she doesn't want you there, like, that's your problem. Like, I'm not going to cut off my connection with her because to appease you. I'm not doing that shit because it's hard enough as a woman, okay, to meet other women and to find that connection. Like, that's hard. Like, men are not hard. Men are easy. Like, as a woman, I've never had to do any work or think twice about attracting a man. Men were always there, always there. There are times in my life where I wish I could take 20 of the dudes that's in my face and trade them in for 2 chicks. Like, can I just get 20 of these dudes and just give me 2 chicks? Like, men were always in abundance. They're not difficult. Women are the ones that were more difficult, where you have to do more work. And so many of my male friends would teach me or tell me about what women meant when I am a woman, but I don't get it because I don't play games and I'm very straight up. But a lot of women are not straight up about what they want. I've known so many women who I'm minding my business because I'm naturally not a flirtatious person. Maybe my older years, maybe a little bit more, but not really, right? Because I'm actually kind of shy, which people who don't know me don't believe that. But there are plenty of times in my life, especially like in my early and mid-20s when I was minding my business and some girl would start touching my butt or touching one of my body parts and, then tell me, oh, Makeda, you're not my type. I would never mess with you. And I'd be like, okay, but why are you touching me? And I never asked you if you would mess with me, but why are you touching me? Because I'm not touching your breasts. I'm not touching your body. So why would, it didn't make sense. And I, for years, thought women weren't attracted to me. But it was really this weird game. And men don't do stuff like that. Like, I've never known a man to put his hands in my ass and then tell me he's not attracted to me. Or just be doing those weird things that women can do. And a lot of that, I just feel like, comes from society, of women feeling like they can't be straight up about what it is that they want. I'm not like that. I don't have those issues, and I don't play those games. Part of it could be because I was not raised religious. I think religion messes women up a lot, and men too, but especially women. And if you saw my IG post from yesterday about the goddess and why it's important to acknowledge the goddess and not act like the goddess is synonymous with God, because she is not. The goddess and God are not the same thing. If you saw, and I hate when men try to say that it is, because if you saw a man, if somebody walked into church and saw Jesus on the cross and said, oh, the great goddess, people would look at them like they were crazy. Like, what do you mean the great goddess? You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't call Jesus a goddess. You wouldn't call, and I didn't grow up in church with any of that stuff, so whatever. But you wouldn't do that. There's a God, there are gods, and there are goddesses, and they're not the same. Their powers are not the same. Their legacies are not the same. And the God comes from history. The goddess comes from mysteries. The unseen, the more ancient, the unknown. And with that, you address sexuality. You cannot discuss goddesses without discussing sexuality. Under patriarchal religion, we have the shame of sexuality and the shame of anything that is not heterosexual monogamous sex. And so that has affected a lot of people. And there's a lot of women who just, because they were raised religious, it could be Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, or because they might have sexual trauma, which thankfully I don't have, and that is way too rampant. But sexual trauma also affects a woman and her comfortableness with her sexuality. And then, what's the other? Oh, and daddy issues. Like, those 3 things can cause big issues, right? But I think when it comes to, and a woman expressing what she wants, there's a lot of off-balanceness. And that's why, like, the class that I've been teaching for the past 12 years, sensual strength training, and teaching women to work with nanny eggs, I have come to see that more women than not are dealing with one of those, if not all 3 of those issues. And it helps women a lot with being able to be more honest and say what they want and just stop feeling like they need to play games and all this other stuff. And so I just feel like, and then the other thing is with bisexual women, because we deal with men, we're not used to being the aggressors. And this is, again, not always the case because there are aggressive bisexual women. But because we're used to men being the aggressors, a lot of times, like, you can have two girls who are attracted to each other, like they're bi, and girls, overthink things, and if we're not used to being the aggressor, and I know for me, I don't really approach women because women to me are just so confusing, like, the signals that they send, like, unless I'm sure that a woman is attracted to me, I kind of just, like, leave that alone. That's why girls can be really weird. And my male friends have said to me, Makeda, I think you're afraid of rejection. And when they said that, I said, you know what? You might be right. I never thought about that because I'm not used to being rejected because I don't ever approach anybody. Like, when it comes to men, I've never approached a man first. There are men that I've seen that I was attracted to. And I'm like, I might think he could get it. I'm really attracted to him, but I don't say anything. And then that man probably eventually would say something to me. But I've never been the aggressor when it comes to approaching men. And so definitely when it comes to approaching women, it's even scarier. So when my male friends told me they thought I was afraid of rejection, I'm like, you're probably right. And being a bisexual woman, I feel like helps me understand men a little bit more, what men have to deal with, because there's so much. Like, men sometimes can be annoying. Men sometimes can be tricky. And as annoying as it is, the more I deal with women, I see, men sometimes have to be a little tricky because women play so many games. And if men weren't a little tricky sometimes, then, and I'm not talking about rape or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. But I just mean, like, how you finesse a situation. And a lot of it is because women are just, speaking in codes, not saying what they really want, acting this way, but doing this, saying this, but doing it. Like, I'm not like that, I'm the kind of woman that, even around men, I remember in my early 20s, it was meetings, it was like almost every man that I worked around would try to come on to me. And I was never, like I said, a flirtatious person. So I'm not the type of chick to lead dudes on. Like, I know girls that like to flirt with men and lead them on. They think it's amusing. I'm not like that, and I don't think it's cool. So for me, like, there are men who've come on to me in uncomfortable situations. They could have been a coworker or a boss or whatever. And I never flirted with them. And so I could be alone with them one day, and they're pushing up on me, and I should think to myself, what did I do to make him think that he should do that? Because I never expressed any interest in him, never flirted with him. And then I realized, like, that's because a lot of women are weird like that. Like, there's women who act like they don't like you, but they do, and they want you to do that. I'm not that chick. If I act like I don't like you, it's because I don't. You know what I'm saying? And if I act like I do like you, it's because I do. If I'm flirting with you, it's because I mean it. Like, I don't play those kind of games, and I wish all women would stop playing those games because it makes it bad for women like me who are always being straight up, and then dudes think I'm playing the game and I'm fucking not, right? So I feel like working with the eggs helps our women be more real. But going back to what I was saying, because a lot of us bisexual women are used to dealing with men, we're used to men being the aggressor. When we are together, sometimes we have a hard time initiating because we're used to the man doing that. And so I've been in situations before where I'm, with a woman, like, me and this woman could be in each other's presence, and a man who may not even be involved, he may not even be a threesome or anything, but he says, he starts to give us instructions. Like, he might tell her, okay, you do this, you touch her here. And just because this man's voice is telling us what to do, for some reason, we do it. Like, it's weird. Or I've known couples where the man was the one that was actively seeking the woman and bringing them into the situation and kind of being the dominant one in the situation. So men can be a help, but men can also be a hindrance. Because there are women that I've been really attracted to who are really attractive women. And because they're really attractive women, men like them too. And so there are women that, like, I had a crush on for some years, and then, like, I'm in her presence and I'm trying to get at her, but then this dude is on the other side pulling her that way, and I'm trying to pull her this way, but, he got her. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm like, if he was only not here right now, then I can move up into this situation. But, so sometimes men are in the way. And that's happened to me a good number of times. Because any attractive woman is always going to have men in her face as well. And so because of all these, and then you have couples who, it's like they come together. So it's like, I'm sure every bisexual woman, and as a bisexual, any bisexual woman who are listening to this, who have experience with this, please feel free to comment. But all of us, and I've had this conversation with other women, all of us have dealt with men that we were not interested in dealing with just because we wanted to mess with that woman. So there could be a girl that we're attracted to, and we want her, but then she has a man, and she acts like, you know, her and her man come as a package. And you may not be interested in her man at all, but you're like, damn, I really want her. So, you know what? I'll deal with him because I want to get to her. And I've been through that, and I know plenty of women that have. Now, that's why I always felt like if I'm in a relationship, I would never want another woman. If I have a connection with a woman, I never want her to feel like you have to fuck with my dude. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want him here, he could disappear. If you, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you find him attractive and you want to be up in the mix, I'm fine with that too. Because I would never deal with a man who is not worthy. Every man is not worthy of being in a threesome situation. And a lot of women bring lame-ass dudes into the situation who don't deserve it. And what I mean by that is men whose sexual skills are on weak, men whose dicks are too little, men who are fucking annoying, like they just don't know how, they're like a puppy, that they just need to be, they don't know how to get in where they fit in. They don't know how to sit back and chill the fuck out until we want them to be over here. They feel like it's all about them and they have to be up in the mix and they're throwing temper tantrums. Those men don't deserve to be there. And a lot of women bring lames like that into a situation. And so I would never be with a man that was a lame like that because I like girls and he can't be messing my shit up, right? And any man that I'm with has to also help me get women. Because sometimes the complications, this is what I'm talking about, the trickiness, right? The complications that as a woman that we have with meeting other women and all that shit, and it makes me understand what men deal with. But it's probably worse for us because it's more taboo for girls to mess with girls. So, like, there's a lot of women who like women, but they're not, they might have been raised religious and they're not comfortable with themselves. So it's even more game playing, right? And sometimes women respond to men more. Like a dude could go up to her and say the same thing I said, and she'll respond because it's a man. It's a man's voice. So any man that I'm with, I'm like, dude, you have to be helping me. Fuck being jealous and insecure. No. You need to help me on my mission. And if there's ever a woman that I'm into and we have a connection and she doesn't want you a part of it, or she doesn't want you there, you have to accept that, you know? And so that's where I am. And I hate when I see women, I see so many women who try to act straight because they want a man. They want a husband, you know? And they feel like they have to suppress that part of themselves for that. And there's times I've been there, but I just can't do that because I'm not an actress and I have to be true to myself. And I feel like suppressing your sexuality can make people crazy. And even with Whitney Houston, you know, I remember when Whitney Houston died, I kept saying, what was her problem? That she could not get off drugs, and she was so addicted to these drugs. Because people who are addicted to drugs like that, they usually have some type of trauma. Some bad childhood trauma, some bad abuse. So, and from what I knew about Whitney Houston, she didn't have those issues, you know? Like, from what I knew about her, she was close to her mother and father, and like, she was beautiful enough to be a supermodel. You know, she's on Naomi Campbell's level. She could sing better than everybody in the world. So it's like, what could she have been depressed about? And a friend of mine who's in the music industry, big person, he's been in it since the 80s, okay, and still in it. And he's a known person, but I'm not going to mention his name. But he knew Bobby Brown. He was all up in that mix. And Whitney and everything, and he told me, when she died, before anybody was talking about this, he told me about this woman, Robin, where now this is coming out, that Whitney was in this relationship with this woman. They were like, you know, best friends, and Robin really had Whitney's back, but because of Whitney being raised in the church and not going with her image, they crushed that, and her marrying Bobby Brown was kind of like a setup to get people to stop talking about that. They just wanted anything but some lesbian rumors. And Whitney denying that part of herself, you know, really upset her and made her depressed. It would do the same thing to me because I'm not fucking straight. Like, I love men, but if someone told me I could never touch a woman again for the rest of my life, I would want to kill myself, okay? Like, same thing, you know, I'm not a lesbian, I need men. And bisexual people are always in a situation where you feel like you have to choose. It's probably worse for bisexual men because people are less accepting of bisexual men, and they feel like, you know, if a dude is attracted to a dude, he's gay, period. But he might be into women too, so they're bisexual men as well. And I feel like however you are, you should be who you are because there are women who are attracted to bisexual men. You know, there's women, it's not my thing, but there are women who get turned on by that. There's women who watch gay male porn. So just be yourself, because there are people out there who will accept you. And for me, I would never try to act straight to appease a man. And I would never try to act like a lesbian to appease a woman. And I just wish I would see more bisexual people, more bisexual women stand in who they are and not feel like they have to change because of that. And I'm trying to think of, and I just really feel like we are left out of the whole LGBT thing, is the bisexual people. Like, people talk about trans all day, and that's another conversation I want to have for another day. People talk about that, the gays, the lesbians, but you know what I'm saying? The bisexual people, we just kind of get looked at as being confused and freaks, and we're trying to be cute. And then there's not a lot of bisexual people who will say they're bisexual. Most bisexual people won't say anything. They'll say they're straight or they'll say they're gay. So I think I got out all the points I wanted to say. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, so now I've talked about it. And my whole Double Goddess project, some of you might have seen some of my images, but for years I've been working on, or wanting to work on artistic new images with me and other women. Just because I feel like women coming together sexually is a beautiful thing. Artistically, whether you have two women dancing with each other, I just think it's beautiful. And I just wanted to show, like, for anybody who does not see the beauty, thinks it's wrong, thinks it's disgusting, through my artwork, I wanted to be able to show, I wanted it to be so beautiful that somebody could not deny the fact that it's beautiful. And that's how I feel even with dancing. Like, I'm kind of shy. I'm not an exhibitionist, even though people may think that. But what does bring out my exhibitionism is beautiful women. So if I'm out someplace and a pretty girl starts dancing with me, then I feel like I want to show off and turn up. Like, that's what it does to me. And I feel like it's so beautiful. And I love to make people ooh and ah of, like, oh my God, like, because it is. But even in the dance world, you know, like modern dance, whatever, you see two men do duets all the time. You see men and women do duets. You never see two women do that, you know? Like, there's never, I don't feel, and on TV, I feel like, you know, we see gay men and gay couples, gay male couples all the time, which is fine, but, like, you don't see that with the women like that. And so I would like to see more of that, and not always just be a lesbian situation, and just be more normalized, because there's a lot of us out there. And I always said I will live my truth out loud, so that if there are other women who are also bisexual, they can also feel more comfortable just being who they are and not feeling like they have to hide it or choose or whatever, you know, and get with men who not only can accept it, but know how to fall into place, okay? And they don't feel insecure, entitled, or jealous, okay? So, yeah, I think I'm done. It's almost 30 minutes of talking. I hope that somebody out there likes this, and if you like it, please share and follow me on Instagram and YouTube, The Renaissance Amazon. Have a great day, people. Bye.